It says we're already live streaming.
Okay. Well then. Okay. Well, let's just have a conversation and see why.
All right.
There's probably a whole bunch of people watching, so.
Well, what do you think has been the latest at Princess Craft?
Well, it's undoubtedly been a tough season for everyone. Every dealership, every manufacturer. It's been been a season to navigate, but I think it reflects what's been going on worldwide, culture, economics, political. And you always have a thing where you tell us here in shop, major election years, you see wonkiness in the RV market and probably automotive, probably housing, probably building, probably manufacturing and retail as a whole.
Well, I think the RV market is really dependent on just how people feel. You know, you don't get excited about traveling. You don't get excited about maybe changing your lifestyle and spending money when things feel uncertain, when things feel a little bit, I don't know, just up in the air for whatever reason. And election years tend to do that. The people like to make their point on one side or the other by telling you how terrible something is,
Right.
and how the world will just end if the other person gets elected. And it happens on both sides. It really doesn't matter what your political view is.
Yeah.
It is kind of the way it goes. So that is why election years are just a little scary. And the stock market has its ups and downs from time to time. But when it has a downside or a bad day or a bad week, especially in a political year, it gets blown up.
Sure.
So it does affect. It affects our mindset, and so that affects sales. Here it does. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let me go ahead and grab. We have Paco. Hey, Paco. Saying, let me see if I can add that to the bottom area. Love your reviews. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stephen,
we love doing them.
And Stephen, we do see you pop up on our videos. How are you doing? Good to see you.
From Ontario.
Checking in
How's the weather?
Yeah.
Man, it is so stinking hot here. So, yeah, we're always jealous of your weather.
Well,
especially in the summer.
Yeah, in the summertime.
In the summer. Okay.
We're always
all right,
jealous
fair,
in the
right?
summertime. So very good. So we've had you do a few reviews or tours recently. Any of the trailers that we've toured recently and done a video on kind of stick out as, wow, everyone needs to kind of have this on their radar?
Oh, I don't know. You know, the two that we are working with a lot right now that I just love, the MDCs are just good for what they are. They're very well done inside. They're great for off-roading. They're kind of that really tough, rugged feel. So I really like that.
Right.
But
it's funny because they're juxtaposition. They're tough and rugged in the way that they're built, and yet they are kind of sleek and fancy once you get into the living quarters. So it's a weird juxtaposition on the MDCs that they are both.
yeah, yes, you walk inside and it's just super cool, modern interior. The vessel sinks, the laminated cabinets, just really nice. I have to say I have really enjoyed. It makes me smile every time I walk outside the front door and I see Oliver trailers sitting right outside in the front. It
Oliver
makes
has
me
something
smile.
special going on.
Oh, yeah.
I know that when you haven't been near an Oliver in person, when you haven't touched it with your hands, you haven't been inside and been able to sit in the space, I know the knee-jerk reaction is, isn't it just like the others that look like it?
It looks kind of like a standard fiberglass molded trailer.
Right.
But it is so much more. It's very cool.
You know, to me, the maybe some of the better comparisons I can have is you can, in fact, buy a Toyota and it does the job extremely well. You can, in fact, buy a Lexus, which has all the feel, all the pedigree of a Lexus. Is it technically a Toyota company? Yes, but when you are in them, when you ride in them, when you're in the space and you get a sense of it, it's not the same. Really.
Just walking in, it's easy to see it's not the same. It
Mm-hmm.
has a lot of molded cabinetry, a lot of features like that to it, but just the thoughtful design and the cool features, the lighted interiors on the glass covers on the cabinets.
Yeah.
Everything has such a beautiful, clean fit and finish. It's really fun.
And Stephen has picked up on the fact that
That
coffee-
I always mention coffee.
yeah.
You know, that's when we talk about camping, that's something that you and I both associate with camping gear is
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah.
And
Now you do a coffee maker that you plug in.
I
I'm a
do.
little bit more pour over and squish down, but
I could do a press.
Yeah.
And I could do a pour over if I was in a smaller trailer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we happen to have an extra coffee maker. It sits on there, but I tell you what, I see a lot of trade-ins, and every one of them has a little coffee maker sitting on the counter. So I know I'm not the only one. I know.
oh,
So it's
Lindsay said, "Heyo, heyo."
hey, Lindsay. So yeah, so I'm not the only one that does that. I think it's important. There are important things when I travel, and coffee is one of them.
So I saw a report in, I think, an RVDA publication just today. It was in my email, so I was kind of reading through, seeing if I could acquaint myself with whatever's going on. And they said something to the tune of, they did a survey, and surveys, take them or leave them, take them for what they're worth, if you will.
Right.
And it says something like in the 80%, maybe 86 is what's coming to mind, it could be wrong, of buyers are saying that the economy, if they are interested in a product and a purchase, particularly in RVs, the economy actually doesn't influence their decision so much. They're going to do what they're going to do anyways. Are we kind of seeing that at our dealership, or do you think that that's people in that particular survey saying what they would like to believe about themselves? Because that's sometimes how I feel about surveys. People like to report what they would like to believe about themselves, not necessarily how it's really down deep working.
Okay, Lindsay's going to give me a lot of grief for this, but
Okay.
I recently had a conversation about people who say, yeah, I don't care about colors and furnishings, I just know what I like. So they walk in one that's got lots of color, fully furnished, and they say, oh, I love this trailer. They walk in another one that's the identical floor plan,
Right.
the identical make,
Right.
it's just a different color and not furnished, and they don't like it. And
Yeah.
I think people sometimes don't know
How they're
what's
affected.
influencing them.
Right.
I don't think it's a conscious decision.
Right.
So when people say, no, the political scene doesn't bother me, I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
But it's an undercurrent. It's in there somewhere.
Yeah, well, you haven't even considered buying anything because you're maybe just feeling uneasy about where we're at as an economy,
Right.
as job security, as whatever it is that you think about. I think it just isn't. I don't think people consciously say, I'm not buying because I'm just kind of unsure of the world.
Yeah.
I think that just influences.
I would
everything
love
you
to.
do.
I would love to. Maybe I do sometimes speak the same way, where I'd love to say that that these things don't bother me, and I'm unfazed, and I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. But I think I have to be a little bit honest about it. Steven says that these outside kitchens, something he would have to experience firsthand without the black flies. Well, yeah. Locations and timing, and sometimes it comes down to elevation. I don't know. Yeah, but it's part of the experience as well.
Yeah, last time we went camping, we went to Dinosaur State Park. Flies were the biggest issue. It wasn't mosquitoes.
Yeah.
It was flies. So
Big time
I feel
annoyances.
your pain. It is. You can't get away from them. You can't scare them off. You just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have these for $2.99. We have a 12-foot clamshell tent. Lippert makes it. That's about what they sell for.
Right.
Maybe some people have gone up a little bit, but I can set it up by myself in 10 minutes, and it's screened all the way around. So seriously, I think I would figure out how to bump that up against my outdoor kitchen, and just there's ways to do that. It
Always,
has an
yeah.
unzipped door.
Yeah.
You just got to work around it because, man, that is frustrating.
And depending on the awning manufacturer and the situation of your kitchen, the awning manufacturer may have options to enclose that with screen as well.
Yeah, some of them do.
Yep.
And Lindsay thinks we're saying nice things about her.
Ooh, wouldn't she like to
We
know?
are. Lindsay, we always say nice things about you.
Oh, you
How
should
can we not?
You should do a presentation about herself camping in a trailer.
You know, actually, Stephen, we thought about doing that when we went to Dinosaur State Park. But here's the thing: when I'm camping, I'm camping, and it's hard. I wake up looking like something the dog drug in. I'm hot and sweaty. I don't always wear presentable clothing.
Because you're camping.
Because I'm camping.
Yeah.
And I'm wandering through. I don't know.
And to be honest,
You might not want to see me camping because I'm just like everybody else. No, I'm not. I'm probably less prepared and less scheduled than most people when I'm camping.
And to be honest, when we send her off camping, I typically don't come along with her and follow her around filming it. And most of PJ's videos, it's a team effort. She's in front of the camera and I'm behind, and then I edit them. So yeah, I think it would have to be a little bit more planned to pull off what we do.
We could do a marketing camp out, and there's 5 or 6 of us. We'll all go camping together, and you can film. We'll camp. We'll take turns filming, and
just make it off.
that would work.
Like the show The Office. Just do it that style. It'll be a little bit shakier because I'm actually moving around, and we'll just slap that production together. But maybe we can get some of our usual hijinks mixed in.
Yeah, we could do the reality show look. Because, I mean, seriously, that's me camping.
Okay, so let's go to Jim. It says Jim Botex. So are you a bot? I don't know. Okay, looking for a lightweight pop-up truck camper with either wet bath or dry bath. Do you have any recommendations? I mean, what do we got? Palomino.
The
North
Palominos
Star.
are a good entry-level camper. They built a decent camper. Their pop-ups are a great place to start. A little more money gets you into the North Stars, which is
I like them.
really well built.
Yeah, I like 'em.
Rex Willett has done a fabulous job for decades. So I highly recommend those, especially if you need a camper that can stand up to some rugged travel. They just do a beautiful job. If you want to step up from there, we have things like, we have some Cube series that we
Those-
really like.
We like them as far as the shower. It has an outdoor shower, which I
Yes.
already travel with the outdoor tent shower system, so that wouldn't bother my
Yeah.
family that much.
Now, they're a fiberglass build, so they're super solid.
Yes, yeah.
And they have an electric setup, kind of a hydraulic electric setup that's really slick. So you get a low profile, really insulated, sturdy camper. So those are cool. Again, it's all about investment.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot out there with the pop-ups, but those are kind of the 3 different levels that we work with because we really like those builds, and they kind of cover the range of
Right.
what people are looking for.
You know, there are some brands that we don't see because they are manufactured direct. Scout might have something for you. Four-wheel campers.
This four-wheel does a great job.
But they are
Super
up there.
rugged.
They're super rugged. They're really for the overland crowd. They are pretty pricey, and they tend to be factory direct. Now the communities around them are amazing. I forget,
and minimalist. They are
Yeah.
more of a minimalist style camper.
I do forget the full breadth of the product line of Soaring Eagle. Do they have something that fits this bill?
Soaring Eagle has some options that are lower profile. It's probably not what you're looking for exactly, but they have some great lightweights. A lot of people who are looking at pop-ups, they need to consider something like Soaring Eagle just because you get a little sturdier build.
Yeah.
The Soaring Eagle is a complete aluminum cage frame.
Right.
That's spectacular in
It
a truck
is.
camper.
Lightweight,
Go
but
anywhere,
really
do
strong.
anything. So another idea there
I like it.
to compare to the pop-ups.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The more ruggedish and yet somehow economically minded person in me likes them just for what they are.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, now Steven says he's 6'4",
You and me both, man. 6'4".
so you can relate.
Yep. Here in Southern Ontario, we have different RV dealers. Some know right away that you are viewing the website. There are technologies, marketing technologies out there. We don't utilize them quite in that sneaky fashion, but there are ways to track down IPs and things like that. Jim says, thanks. What was your top three? Palomino, North Star, and Cube. Those are the ones that we have probably the most experience with that fit the parameters. The Cube doesn't have an indoor wet bath or dry bath space, but it's so configurable. It has that pretty much everything else, and it is so drivable because it collapses down. It's almost as tall as the cab of your truck, so it's from a wind resistance and weight standpoint, the thing's fantastic.
It is.
A lot of tech in it too.
And again, it's like the Oliver. It's that fiberglass build, but a little more basic on the inside. If you are looking for a standard pop-up truck camper, Palomino is going to be your entry level. North Star is going to be your tougher build.
It's hard for me to choose between them because Palomino does something maybe visually for me and something about the space, but I have always had really a thing for North Star. Maybe their graphics kind of are like, that could be use a refresh, but other than that, I've liked North Star since the moment I started working here. We used to have one right outside our office.
They're
for the
just a
longest time.
solid build.
Yeah.
Super solid build. So I would say, Jim, if you are looking at trying a truck camper, start with the Palomino, especially if you're staying on the highway. If you are looking at getting off any type of paved road and doing some logging roads, doing some exploring, step up to a North Star.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion.
Yeah. And just before I bring up the next comment to respond to, sometimes, it's been a while since we've done a live stream, but sometimes I don't get all of the comments coming through right away, or maybe not even at all, from different Facebook groups and all that. So if you are commenting in a Facebook group and I'm not seeing it, I'm probably going to, as soon as we get off of this live stream, I'm going to go find out if it's working or not. But do try, or even say, hey, I'm watching from here. That'll let me know right now.
Lindsay, if you see something too, because sometimes you can see things we can't,
Right.
just shout it out to us.
So we'll figure out the technology again. All right, Stephen again says, your future predictions on new travel trailers coming out in 2025.
Gosh,
Ooh, it's a hard season.
Great question.
Yeah, it's a hard season to predict what manufacturers will do.
There is new things coming out.
Yes.
We will see some new things in the fall. They probably will not show until Hershey Show and the dealer open house, which is mid-September time frame. So we will see new stuff arriving. What I'm seeing is some of the things that have been selling are going to be expanded. I haven't heard of a lot of people building entire new lines.
Right.
There hasn't been enough interest To give you a point of reference, we may talk about how politics or whatever doesn't influence people's decisions. However, the market is down about 20% from last year. So something is shrinking the market just a bit. And when that happens, it's very difficult on the manufacturers. And so they're not developing brand new products, maybe expanding on what they have.
No.
So I expect to see people trying to hit the 20-foot trailer size market, lightweights, and if they already have that, they're going to expand it bigger or smaller. But that is where I think we'll see a lot of the growth.
Right. So I just from what we've been talking about here in house, there's some things that okay. So let me hit maybe 2 or 3 things. The first one is I'm glad that we're not hearing the phrase decontented as much because and I wonder what your thoughts are on what manufacturers learned from the great decontenting experiment.
Sometimes it works. On some products, it does work. I think we will see people like the mainstream products. Arpod wasn't having a great time, so they tried decontenting last year. This year, they just redid the entire product line, and so
Which was
it's
the next thing I was bringing it up is specifically Arpod.
Yeah, it's going to look different, but it also is going to have some content that they feel like people really notice. And some of the fluff that added price, they'll take out. They have lowered the price down, trying to make it more appealing camper price-wise.
Right.
So I think we will see a lot of that. People are trying to make them look different, to have something else to show. Because in the past 2 years, there hasn't been a lot of redesign in standard products. So we'll see... Excuse me, I need a drink and I don't have one today. I think we'll see a lot of change there. In products just looking a little different, which it's about time. It's time for a refresh.
Yeah.
There will be some higher end product, I think, being introduced because that segment of the market is not shrinking quite as much. So we'll see some of that.
Yeah.
But overall, I do not expect a ton of really overwhelming new products to show up this fall.
How did you feel whenever we would have trailers from the same manufacturer and the same brand line that were the same model designation and layout, but you had the regular retail version and then the decontented kind of essentials only version? How did you feel having those on the lot at the same time?
You know, do you remember that commercial where I can't even remember what the commercial was about, but this little kid, this 10-year-old-ish kid, is sitting there saying, "When I grow up, I want to be middle management."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was meant to shock you and saying, "What?" So it kind of feels that way. It's kind of like how enticing is it to say this is the cheap version?
Steph.
And when you say when customers would ask about it, then you had to explain, why is this called a classic or a LE?
Or an EO.
Because it doesn't have this, and this.
Right. And
then
whenever
they're
you
like,
say the words doesn't have, then you're immediately just listing negatives.
Yeah.
It just sounds bad.
I mean, a cargo trailer with a mattress, an air conditioner, and a compost toilet in the corner, it's cheaper than an RV, but nobody wants that. So it just feels
Well, hold
odd to
on.
me.
Let me consider
I hope
this.
that's gone. No, shush. Let's move on to the next question.
All right. Steven Winter wants
You
to
know
know.
what? Intech's going to have a new trailer, though. They're hopefully going to have their black
I
wing
mean,
going.
we've talked about it for a
Yes.
while now.
Hopefully.
Intech.
So it is their kind of serious off-grid trailer. We've been seeing glimpses of it for a while.
Yeah.
Last open house, we glimpsed it. Hopefully that will be finished. So there might be some cool stuff.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So your opinion, and I don't know how broad this question this is. It seems pretty wide open. Your opinion of a fifth wheel trailer?
Oh, fifth wheel trailers are fabulous
Yeah.
to tow, and there are some really great models out there. It's bigger, but
Yeah.
they're great.
There's a place in the RVing
Yes.
world for fifth wheelers. That's why they sell so many of them.
And you know, if you need a lot of space, I am of the mindset that a fifth wheel is by far the best way to go.
I don't.
Have you ever towed like a 33-foot standard bumper pull trailer?
No, and I really don't want to pull. No,
It's-
I have. We
I
had the
mean-
cabin cruisers that we took down for
Oh, yeah.
for ACL Festival when we were supporting them and providing a trailer for their green room for the bands, and that was a bumper pull and it was over 30 foot.
If you need a really large trailer, it's doable. You just got to be careful. You're going to bump some curbs. You're going to get in some tight spots, but it's very doable.
Yeah.
But if you need all that space, a fifth wheel is just a much easier tow.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not a hard hookup either.
No.
To try to connect them up, a lot of people are scared of that. They're like, I don't know how to do that. What if I mess it up? It's not hard. It's like anything else in camping. Once you learn it, you'll be good.
You know, they are extremely popular in places like Texas. And I wonder if part of that is because of just the notion of everything's bigger in Texas, this, that, and the other. And they have big enough trucks to do it, so why not? Mm-hmm. And I wonder if part of it is, so I have family who have fifth wheels, and it's because when they travel, they take all their stuff. Mm-hmm. They have a toy hauling fifth wheel, and they always go not just a little bit out of state. And they're going to stay for 3 weeks at a time. And I wonder if it's all these things kind of coming together that make those fifth wheels work for Texas families, or maybe Oklahoma families, just maybe middle America families.
You know, it's interesting. We've talked about fifth wheels and we've talked about pop-up truck campers. And if you look at both ends of the spectrum on RVs and traveling, not counting motorized, but if you're just looking at towables, some people want to travel with all of their stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Some people want to travel with a minimal amount. They don't need that much, no matter how long they're gone. So everybody's different. Mm-hmm. Everybody is different, and depending on your lifestyle, what you want to do, what you want to take with you,
Right.
and that's why sometimes a fifth wheel is the best option.
Yeah.
Sometimes a pop-up truck camper is more than enough.
I
so
am loath-
I love that
yeah.
part about the RV industry. So there is no right or wrong here.
I'm loath to get into the conversation because it's always really a argument of sorts of that's not camping. My definition of camping is camping and all that. Because we hear it all the time.
Yeah.
But not as much maybe with people who've been RVing longer. I think that everyone who's been in it longer and have probably moved through the ranks of campers and all
right.
that, they just walk away. It's like whatever. Everything should just be chill. That's what these things are for.
Yeah. And some people don't want to travel if they don't have their living room and their entire things. I mean, to some people, a coffee maker on your counter is like seriously over and above. And for other people, it is not enough.
Right.
They need every gadget.
Well, we had an
So
episode
everybody does it different.
recently. Does your RV have to have a bathroom? We had an episode all about that, and it was a very divided thing. And I think the comments and the listeners of that podcast episode was absolute yes and absolute no, and both of them in the
That's
middle.
right.
And both in the middle was like, but if I had to, I could make it
I
work.
could.
But it's an emotional.
And I remember
Yeah.
when I saw that we were doing that on RV Small Talk podcast,
Yeah.
I was like, who is going to want to listen to this? And who's going to really talk about this? And
The comments rolled in, yeah.
it was a thing. So
Sure.
So Stephen, you rented a 20-foot motorhome with a 5-speed manual?
Back in the 70s.
Wow.
That's living the dream there.
Wow.
And they were traveling. He was 10 and his sister was 15. at the time. That's, to
Yeah.
me, it would be delightfully retro to try to pull that off right now.
Oh man. Well, you saw pictures recently of me sitting in a Volkswagen van,
Yeah, yeah.
camper van, because I was so nostalgic when I saw it at a car show, because that's what I started camping in when I was 7. And there was 6 of us, and it was not the Vanagon with the pop-up top. We all Rubik's cubed in there in different layers, and all 6 of us slept in it for 2 months,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
traveled up the West Coast. And I remember I had my 7th birthday in San Francisco.
Nice.
Yeah, so those are special times. I wish everybody had those, and I wonder what my kids remember. You're creating some great memories for your kids with your camping, but
I'm trying to.
I don't know. I think it's important. I think it's fun. It's interesting. Get out of your element. Do something different.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
And in fact, something that Laura and I have been kicking around is because my kids are homeschool and all that is actually 1 or 2 weeks in the fall when the weather's a little bit nicer, they can do their schoolwork from Cedar Breaks, and I can just go there and I can commute in from Cedar Breaks that week versus home, and they can have a real kind of week-long outdoor experience and do their studies and all that, and I just go to work and come home from work the same way, just a different starting point.
Well, like I always say, you don't win any prizes for driving the farthest.
No.
So Cedar Breaks is about 5 to 10
It's-
minutes from my house.
It's almost closer to work than my house is.
Yeah. So it's fun to camp there because it's right around the corner. The setup is easy. We can camp for one night, and then we just fold everything up and park it again
Yep.
and go home. It's
Yep.
great.
Oh yeah, Steven says he loves those coffee press works. Do you do French press? I do AeroPress usually. I'm good with almost any coffee, but at home we typically do AeroPress. John, that's a beautiful flag. All right, Lee says, when I was 6, my sister and I rode in a truck camper on an El Camino.
El
from
Camino.
Texas.
Okay, Lee, I want to see pictures. Seriously, I want to see pictures. That sounds
Yep.
great.
Yeah,
You've got to have a picture from that.
Was it a
I mean,
specific
how
truck
much
camper that
fun.
was made for that scenario?
Back then people did whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
There was nobody sitting there wondering about weight. They just piled it on and took off.
Yeah.
Well, my dad
Yeah.
did that. When we were camping one time, it was right before we got to Yellowstone, and my dad tied ropes on the waists of my sisters, and
Yeah.
and a rope around his waist, and decided they would cross this rushing river. Tied it to a tree, I think. And I'm like, he would be arrested for that. It was,
Not if no one finds out.
I mean, can you imagine somebody, it's just because at Yellowstone, they watch it every turn
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Anyway, we did anything back then. Our dad, he strapped down a folding lawn chair in the back of our station wagon so my sisters could sit up in those little children's lawn chairs and see out the windows.
Yeah.
Because it was so scenic going down Breakneck Road in New
Down
Jersey.
Breakneck Road.
Yeah. So I don't know. I love that. I want to see a picture.
Yeah. My grandparents would take a bunch of kids from Burnet, Texas, just round them up and take them all up to Six Flags in Arlington in the back of their single cab pickup truck. But
Oh, yeah.
we'd be underneath the truck cab on wooden benches that my grandfather made with ropes across our waist. And it was so hot, and yet it was such a cool memory as well.
So fun and so
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah, very much so. All right, so John says, PJ, you do a great job on your videos.
Oh, well, thank you, John. I appreciate that. I have a ton of fun doing it.
Yeah.
Clint doesn't always, because he has to take all those B-roll photos and put it together and tolerate. The way it works is that Clint does all the prep work, all of the close shots, And then I go out there and I just literally talk for an hour or two. And then he chops it up to make me look really smart and to make it watchable. Because if you haven't figured out by now, I can pretty much talk to a tree stump all day long. So thank you. I appreciate that. Clint gets some credit because he's the real star of making me look like I am just rattling it off end to end. I know.
My job
It's
is
magic.
to take about, between B-roll and PJ footage, about 2 hours of footage and make it into as close to 30 minutes of final product as possible.
So
yep.
it's teamwork.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Is it a good idea to tow a dolly behind a trailer on the highway, like a car dolly? My initial answer is no. And for various reasons, most of us aren't really trained for that, and you have so much less control. But also, typically, a trailer, an RV trailer, a camping trailer, their hitch receiver is not designed for that load or that stress. They're typically rated for a bicycle carrier up to maybe 200 pounds. So imagine a car dolly with all that weight and the dynamic influences that it introduces.
Now, if you're flat towing, though,
Flat towing,
you don't have all that weight. So if and there are some states you can double tow.
You can.
And Texas is one of them.
Yeah.
The last stat I saw, which granted it was from TxDOT, and they're probably trying to discourage it, but they said you are 40% more likely to have an accident if you're double towing than if you're single towing.
Yeah.
So that's huge for me. I'd be like, oh.
Yeah, I still
It's a
think
lot.
I still say if you're flat towing, the way those hitches are made on the back of trailers, it's not for even the back and forth stresses of flat towing. It's really for like a carrier basket.
And it could be that there are larger trailers that do have a little more weight. We don't recommend it. It can be dangerous. Now, if you've got a motorhome or you've got a truck camper and you're towing a car behind you, whether it's a tow dolly or a flat tow, you're gonna. I mean, there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It works, and not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's the double tow that's hard.
Yeah, so as you've seen, the trailer with the Sea-Doos, and if you're in a locale where it's legal, then we're not going to say don't. We're just going to say we don't.
And Sea-Doos can't be all that much. I mean, and they're gonna trail really well.
Yeah.
They're not long enough usually to get out of the path of what you're towing in front of you. It's just that when you're double towing, when you turn, the next length behind it is just going to cut that corner
Even
little more.
Right.
So you have to be really careful.
They all have a shorter path.
And you get any kind of wind gusts, you can certainly get the struggle of things moving around. So, but I would think Sea-Doos would be not that big a deal, particularly if you have a solid tow, meaning your vehicle is heavyweight, what you're towing is balanced well,
Right.
your weight distribution is correct. Then if you want to put Sea-Doos back there to get them to the lake, it's probably not that big a deal.
You know who I have little problem with doing that is someone who is engineer minded, because they probably figured out every tongue weight, all the dynamics, all the everything sitting level.
Yeah, but don't you think that the engineers are the ones that overthink everything?
Yeah.
And they tend to err on the side of caution.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I do agree.
So as long as you're cautious and you know what you're getting into, your weights are correct. Have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, we're about 40-ish minutes into this.
My goodness, have we talked that long?
We have managed to talk
But this
that
is
long.
so fun. Can we do this more?
Sure, if that's a request, as a request from my boss, sure.
I don't know. I appreciate you guys chatting with us.
Yeah.
It's great questions.
Invite your friends.
Yeah.
So-
We'll answer their questions too.
All right. Well, I say we wrap this up because neither you or I have had lunch, and here at Central Time, it is it's 1:15 almost, and we're running lean.
Yeah, well, We don't want to bore people to death either, because you and I both could talk for a while.
Yep. Yep.
So interesting. Stephen, you're in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have towing
Ontario.
guidelines before traveling any highway. Interesting.
Yeah.
Be careful in Canada. I know you guys are strict on us crossing the border, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, I'm glad you joined us. Thanks for all the questions, you guys, and we will do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'll go check all the other places where I think I'm broadcasting this to see if we missed any comments and whatnot. And then I'll try to learn to work out the details on this technology so it works better. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we'll put another schedule together and have another discussion. Watch YouTube and social media for when that'll happen.
You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.